did to manage the situation which suddenly hit us with COVID. We heard some very interesting things about how to engage students and what are the kind of things they did and how important it was. And that blended learning is going to continue for a long while, and what preparations they are doing to continue with it. Today we have some great panelists with us who are actually experiencing the classrooms and the environment both in rural India and urban India with low income schools and low income kids as well. And I would like to introduce Caroline to all of you. Caroline is the moderator with us today. Caroline will take you through the session. Caroline runs an organization, Hope for Children, for the last over 10 years, working with a low income segment and trying to give them equal opportunities. And they themselves have had amazing experience of trying to walk through this crisis and many things that they have done to make education a continuous thing for the children that they are working with. So Caroline, I'll hand it over to you and look forward to a fantastic session with our great panelists. Thank you. Thank you, Caroline.
Great. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for the introduction and the invitation to moderate this panel discussion. Welcome once again to everyone who has come here today. And a warm welcome again to all our panelists for being here. I would like to introduce our panelists quickly and also ask them to introduce themselves a little, maybe 2-3 minutes, and also tell us their area of work. I'd like to start with Emlata Yadav, head teacher at Satya Bharti School. Please introduce yourself, ma'am.
नमस्कार। सबसे पहले मैं भारती फाउंडेशन का धन्यवाद करना चाहती हूँ जिसने मुझे आज इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर आने का मौका दिया। मैं हेमलता यादव, सत्य भारती स्कूल मोहनपुर, जिला महेंद्रगढ़, हरियाणा में लगभग 11 वर्ष से मुख्य अध्यापिका पद पर कार्यरत हूँ, जिसे भारती फाउंडेशन द्वारा संचालित किया जा रहा है। यहाँ मैं मुख्य अध्यापिका के तौर पर सारे कार्य करते हुए 3rd, 4th, 5th क्लास को मैथ व कुछ क्लासेस को हिंदी पढ़ा रही हूँ। हमारे इधर अंडर प्रिविलेज्ड बच्चे पढ़ते हैं जिनके अभिभावक या तो श्रमिक हैं या छोटे किसान। भारती फाउंडेशन का मिशन इन छात्रों को गुणवत्तापरक शिक्षा प्रदान करना है। हमारे विद्यालयों की खास बात यह है कि अधिकांश हमारे जो बच्चे हैं वो मदर विलेज यानी हमारे ही गांव से ही बिलोंग करते हैं। भारती फाउंडेशन शुरू से ही सभी टीचर्स को ट्रेनिंग के सेशन देता रहा है, लेकिन इस परिस्थिति में जो आज की लॉकडाउन है, हमारे सामने हम लोग फेस टू फेस जो क्लासेस हम नहीं ले पा रहे हैं, इस परिस्थिति में भी उन्होंने बहुत सारे ट्रेनिंग के सेशन हमारे साथ किए हैं, जिससे हमें ये पता चला कि किस प्रकार हम उन बच्चों के साथ काम करें जिनके पास स्मार्टफोन है, और उन बच्चों को कैसे पढ़ाएं जिनके पास सामान्य फ़ोन है, और जिनके पास कोई फ़ोन नहीं है उनके लिए हम क्या प्लानिंग करें। ये सब चीज़ें हमें भारती फाउंडेशन द्वारा हेल्प मिल रही है।
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Emlata. We will come back to you with some few questions. Let me also introduce our other panel. I'd like to introduce Gary, primary teacher at the Mother International School. Gary, tell us a little about you and where is your school?
Okay, good evening. So I'm from Delhi, and my school is Mother's International School, and I've been in the primary wing since 2003. And our school follows CBSE curriculum, and it was started with the blessings of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. And although, I mean, I am supposed to be representing the privileged school, but actually in our school, there is a 25% reservation for the economically weaker section. We are
Exactly.
privileged that have been able to follow this integrated system of.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Gauri. We will come back to this question later. I have a good question for you. I'd like to now call Madam Farida Lambar, co-founder and director of Pratham. Ma'am, please introduce yourself. We will need your microphone on.
Sorry.
No problem.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
and happy to be here. I think I'm the senior citizen here. So that's my first introduction. I've been a former vice principal of Nirmala Niketan College of Social Work and in Mumbai. And now, of course, the co-founder of Pratham, an organization which has been working for every child in school, learning well and not working. We don't run schools. We don't have any schools as such, but we are working with the government and we are working in the communities to make sure that children are in school and children learn, and our basic concentration has been on foundational skills. I'll discuss later. And
Sure.
during the COVID time, we've been into the relief work as far as Mumbai and other parts of Maharashtra and other parts of India are concerned. And we are also just now concentrating heavily on online, how children learn by remote. I won't call it digital education.
Yes,
but
we
how
have many questions for you, ma'am, today.
Yeah.
Yes, let me introduce Vipul. Vipul Saha, a mindfulness counselor and agipreneur. Please tell us a little more about you, Vipul.
Good afternoon. Namaste, everyone. I'm Vipul speaking from my village near Pune. Lovely to see so many educators from across India. I have been a Teach for India fellow in the past and have worked with Krishnamurti Foundation School and have been working in alternative education space. I now provide mindfulness trainings and one-on-one listening support to parents and teachers, as well as consultancy around curriculum design. So yeah, that's my brief.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much for our panelists for introducing yourself. You will all agree that we cannot start this conversation and discussion without talking about how COVID-19 has affected our life and also how it has affected the education ecosystem. While countries are battling with, their different rate of infection and all the different unparalleled repercussion of the pandemic, worldwide there are currently more than 1.2 billion children in 186 countries that are affected by the closure of school. In a matter of months, we have seen that many schools now has adopted online education, and we have seen also change in how we educate our children around. We are now witnessing a really high growth in online education, whether it's language app, whether it's virtual training, video conferencing like this one, and online learning software. There are, however, a lot of challenges that we would love to discuss with all of you, especially for children that are from the rural background, maybe without having reliable access to internet. They might be struggling more to basically participate in the digital learning. Though for those who have access to the right technology, there is an evidence now that learning online can be more effective. Let me tell you why. Some research show that an average student retain a better learning between 25 to 60% more, and compared to 8 to 10% in the classroom. So much to talk about this also. This is because there is a saying that children can learn at their own pace. Children can go back to recording. They can skip, they can accelerate their learning. And also, I believe that the connection through the online also provide also a one-on-one experience to all. It is clear that this pandemic has utterly disrupted our education system. Many believe that this is also a nice period for innovation, nice opportunity for educator to come up with customized learning. Obviously, clearly, we have witnessed more parent involvement. To start our discussion, I'd like to invite Gauri again, our teacher from the Mother International School. Gauri, can you tell us a little about your experience and journey as a teacher with the new online learning and what we can call now maybe the new normal? Your mic, please.
Okay. So when this, the whole, I'm sorry, this is one of the things of online learning is sitting in the room. So initially you have the connectivity problem and then this, okay. So it happened in March and the session had just come to an end. I mean, it was going to come to an end. And so we just closed down, and what we did was that we thought we'll begin the session in April. Now the online thing was new to us. I mean, most of us had never taken a online class. We weren't familiar with the technology. So what was told to us that let us first create this environment of normalcy so that everything, I mean, it appears that things are calm. And that was the most important thing we thought we should address, is that we have to stay calm, and because we are calm, we can transfer that onto our children. And that was important. So we were fortunate that all our parents, they had an email account, and we could send messages through them. So that worked in our favor. And what we did was we started sending them some worksheets first. And now the thing was that how does one send the worksheet? So we were guided into saying that, you know how it is when you have holidays and you send a holiday homework. So what is the holiday homework like, you know? So you have activities, okay? But the challenge was, how does one send activities? Because most of the time when you send a holiday homework, you said, okay, go and take a visit, you know, take a ride in the metro, visit the zoo, things like that. Here, the challenge came that we were all confined inside the room. But in that, like they say in the, you know, there is a little organization in Kiosk also. And it was very beautifully guided. And the guidance came to us from the mother herself. And so the first topic which we took to send a worksheet was being mindful, okay? And it was so beautiful because we said that to get yourself to be calm, just being mindful and connect with what is around you. So we connected 5 senses, and we said, okay, and we told, that's how we made our worksheet. We said, all right, just enhance your the sight, you know, what you are seeing. So in Delhi, we wrote, he said, okay, now observe the birds, the new birds you're watching, observe the new sounds that you're hearing, observe the new, the taste, and, you know, even the touch, like the feel of a sanitizer and things like that. And that's how the worksheets were made. So the idea behind was that we needed to connect first at their level, and we wanted to explain to them that, you know, we are as much a part of this whole lockdown, and our challenges are similar to yours. And one interesting thing that came was that every time the teacher spoke, or we reached out to the parents, or everybody said they wanted to connect. So the emotional connect was extremely important. And so having said that, and that was the basis, that was the foundation on which we started the online classes, that what is that we want to do with the online classes? Is it that right now we want to transfer content? Do we want to start teaching? But no, it was just to connect first. So Zoom was one very powerful media. And when they came online, it was an emotional experience, not only for the children, it was for the teacher. And, you know, and we were seeing the children for the first time because it was a new class for us. And, but still we said, wow, you are there. And so And what was good about the online class was that during the lockdown, we lost the concept of space and time wasn't very clear. But online classes brought both of them together. We defined a space for ourselves where we would sit down in spite of all the chaos that was happening behind, and whatever was it, the bell wasn't ringing so much, but still there was some sort of a chaos. But and the time. So we would ask the children, okay, have you had your milk? So 9 o'clock the class starts, and that was extremely important for us. That as of now, let us first bring in some kind of a discipline in terms of space and discipline in terms of time. So that's how we began our online classes. And initially it was just connecting with them, just talking to them. And they were very, very happy with just our being there and being able to see. And then we regulated, like, although you said that, they learn better, but we also had to see that for how long the children can stay alert on an online. And I personally, I thought, and of course we've been, and all rules change. Like earlier we used to keep telling our parents that, and we tell the children, okay, not more than half an hour of screen time. You will not pick up your iPads. You will not see the TV. Now all the rules were just thrown away. And, but still we said, okay, not more than one session for smaller kids, 2 sessions for classes 3 and above, and 3 sessions for classes 4 and 5. Because we believe that even though we give them, we are there, but they cannot stay alert in front of the technology for a very long time. So, and then
lovely experience. Would you also share how was your experience as a teacher in delivering the content? Because now I'm sure that all your classes have started, and your regular daily routine somehow has started. Yes. So what was your experience in delivering lesson and content? And how, and also to handle this class, your class management, how is that experience from your side?
Yeah, so that was another thing, that the content, we decided that it cannot be like you have in a regular class. It has to be reduced. And content also has to be such that there is a connection. So we picked up stories which they could relate to. And the content was also delivered through some activities. Like, I'll give you an example, like when we started doing plants, we, as a EVS topic. And when we said that, okay, so we taught them about plants, and then we wanted to integrate an art activity with it. So where does paints come from? Where does crayons come from? And the art teacher came up with a very simple solution. She said, ask them to walk into the kitchen and take out some turmeric powder. So that was brought in, and the thumbprints. So she made them do thumbprints with the turmeric, and haldi. And then she said, okay, what does these yellow thumbprints look like? So they look like yellow chicks. So she said, okay, let's put them in a basket. And then in Delhi at that season, you have these trees, which are amaltas trees. And so we said, okay, make these little thumbprints, and let's have this shower of flowers of these amaltas trees. So that's how we try to integrate, and we try to make the learning fun, because the school does believe in, and the mother does believe in, that one of the first principles of Sri Aurobindo is that nothing can be taught, and we are just facilitators. So unless and until the child is ready to learn, whatever may your plan be, whatever may your slides be, if the child is not ready, he or she is never going to learn anything. So you see this, so we brought in cheerfulness and happiness, and we believe that whether the child is from the economically weaker section or from the privileged class, cheerfulness, happiness can never be compromised and should never be compromised. So this is how we built up the content. So there were times when they couldn't write, they weren't listening, they kept saying that, ma'am, sunai nahi de raha hai, there's connectivity issue or something. We said, it's no problem, it's okay. Even if you can listen to us for 5 minutes, we can see you for 5 minutes, we are happy doing that.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Gauri. And one last question I wanted to ask you. We had this conversation about the school that provide basically reservation for children eligible under the RT. My question for you about this is that we know that parents now has to be more involved, supervising or helping or technology for the children. Now, tell me something. How are these parents coping with this online approach now? Is there challenges for them? Could you share briefly?
Yes.
What are
yes.
your challenges? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So even though those parents are from economically weaker section, but they understand the importance of education. So that is what you should never think that. So once they understand, they participate in the learning process. And that made things very easy for us. And the school became the center of community. When we have a reservation, there is also rule in Delhi that the students should be within the radius of 5 to 6 kilometers. And the children who were coming from the economically weaker section were actually from 1 kilometer radius. So that worked as a favor in our favor, because the school became the hub, school became the community. And every time we wanted to connect to them, and we were calling them up. So we are lucky that we have a class of 36, although we have 5 sections. And so 9 children in our class are from the economically weaker section, but we were talking to them over the phone, and they would, and keep explaining to them, So sometimes they would say, "Ki ma'am, wo that smartphone nahi hai." We said, "No problem." And then we sent a message across, whoever could donate, and we would drop it in the school. So now we made sure that they were getting worksheets, they were getting their uniform, they were getting their books, and gradually we arranged for laptops and smartphones for them. We also had some children who were from the orphanage. Now, the head of the in charge of the orphanage said that, no, we can't even give the phone because the other children in the orphanage are going to another school. So if we provide the phone to just the 2, what about the other children? So we said that's not a problem. We will connect at our own level. And so we would talk to them. And you see that just calling once in a week would get them to work. So it was just like we were just connecting. We were just taking care of the emotional needs. And in return, they were doing exactly what we would do. So rules again changed that we earlier never used to share our telephone numbers, and now our telephone numbers were given to each and every person. They would call us at any time. And so that's how it's been.
Thank you so much. Very insightful, Gauri. I'd like to continue this discussion with Emlata Yadav, head teacher at Satya Bharti School. Emlata, please tell us a bit, your school is in a remote village in Haryana in Uttar Pradesh, and you have 132 children at your care. What have been the various challenges that you have been facing in implementing online education, and how did you overcome those challenges? Please share with us.
सबसे पहले तो मैडम मैं करेक्शन करना चाहूँगी कि मैं उत्तर प्रदेश से नहीं, सत्य भारती स्कूल मोहनपुर हरियाणा से हूँ। दूसरा, जैसे गौरी मैडम ने बताया कि हमारे लिए ऑनलाइन जो एजुकेशन है ये हमारे लिए भी नई थी बिल्कुल। मार्च में जब बंद हुआ, लॉकडाउन लगा, तो ये सब कुछ हमारे नया था। और फिर हमारे जो स्कूल हैं वो प्राइमरी स्कूल थे। हमारे पास प्री प्राइमरी से लेकर 5th क्लास के बच्चे थे। इनको पढ़ाना, इनके साथ लर्निंग करवाना, वो हमारे लिए सबसे ज़्यादा चुनौतीपूर्ण था, क्योंकि बच्चे बहुत छोटे थे। दूसरा, ग्रामीण इलाकों से बच्चे हमारे आ रहे थे। इसके लिए हम लोगों ने कुछ प्लानिंग्स की। जैसे हमने पेरेंट्स के साथ वर्चुअल पीटीएम का सबसे पहले हमने वर्चुअल पीटीएम की। हर पेरेंट्स से हमने फ़ोन पर बात की कि इस दौरान हमें उनकी किस तरह की आवश्यकता की जरूरत पड़ेगी, उनसे क्या सहयोग हमें चाहिए, कि हमारी प्लानिंग क्या है, कब कब हम उन्हें किस तरह से पढ़ाएंगे। उसके बाद हम लोगों ने एसएमसी मेंबर्स यानी स्कूल मैनेजमेंट कमेटी थी, उनके साथ संपर्क अपना साधा, उन्हें अपनी पूरी प्लानिंग बताई। यहाँ एक वाकया भी मैं शेयर करना चाहूँगी कि हमने जब एसएमसी मीटिंग्स मेंबर्स के साथ फ़ोन के लिए उनको टाइम दिया, फ़ोन कॉल था, फ़ोन पर बात करने की, तो हम उन्हें ये कहना भूल गए कि म्यूट और अनम्यूट कब करना है। और जैसे ही हमने उनको लाइन पर लिया, बात करने लगे, सारे के सारे जैसे ही उन्होंने एक दूसरे को देखा कि हाँ सारे जुड़े हुए हैं, अपने हालचाल जानना लग गए। हमारी बातचीत उन्होंने कम सुनी, हम काफ़ी कहते रहे, समझाते रहे कि आप अनम्यूट हो जाइए, जब आपको बात करनी हो तो म्यूट कर लीजिए, जब आपको अपनी बात कहनी हो तो अनम्यूट करना। तो यहाँ भी हमने एक सबक सीखा कि क्योंकि हम ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में हैं, हमारे जो पेरेंट्स हैं उनके लिए ये सब चीज़ें नई हैं, तो हमें ये सब चीज़ें पहले उनको गाइड करनी पड़ेगी। उसके बाद हम लोगों ने, क्योंकि ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में है, हमें पंचायत की हेल्प की जरूरत पड़ती है। हमने सरपंच साहब अपने पंचायत, अपने सरपंच साहब को पूरी प्लानिंग बताई, और मार्च से लेकर मई तक के काम के लिए जब उन्होंने हमारे स्कूल का देखा, बच्चों के साथ हम किस तरह काम कर रहे, तो पंचायत ने हमारे स्कूल को प्रशंसा पत्र भी दिया। अब दिक्कत थी सबसे ज़्यादा न्यू पेरेंट्स के लिए, क्योंकि मार्च में हमारे एडमिशन हुए नहीं थे, नए सत्र सेशन शुरू होने से पहले ही हमारे स्कूल बंद हो चुके थे। हमने जो जनवरी से मार्च तक जिन पेरेंट्स के साथ हमारा संपर्क हुआ था, नए पेरेंट्स के साथ, उनके साथ हमने फ़ोन पर कॉल की, उनको हमारे स्कूल के बारे में बताया, हमारे स्कूल के एक्टिविटीज़ के बारे में बताया। सबसे पहले हम लोगों ने जो हमारे पुराने बच्चे थे उनको व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप से जोड़ा, और हमारे जो काम थे स्टार्टिंग में सारा व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप पर था, क्योंकि हम लोग हमारे बच्चों के पास लैपटॉप नहीं है, स्मार्टफोन भी ज़्यादा बच्चों के पास नहीं है, तो जो काम करवाना था हमें व्हाट्सएप से करवाना था। स्टार्टिंग में हम लोगों ने उन बच्चों के साथ एक्टिविटीज़ करवाई, जैसे क्योंकि हमारे बच्चे छोटे थे, पेरेंट्स के हेल्प की ज़्यादा जरूरत थी, हम लोगों ने उनको शब्द दे देते, कुछ वर्ड्स दे देते, और उनसे कहते कि इस पर कविता या कहानी बनाओ, क्योंकि स्टार्टिंग अगर हम पढ़ाई से करवाते तो शायद बच्चा पता नहीं हमारे साथ जुड़ पाता या नहीं जुड़ पाता। उनकी कनेक्टिविटी, उनको उनके अंदर इंटरेस्ट पैदा करना हमारा सबसे पहला काम था। हम लोगों ने बच्चों से ड्राइंग बनवाना, ये सारे काम शुरू करवाए। अब नए जो बच्चे थे उनका हमने एक अलग से ग्रुप बनाया, और उन बच्चों के साथ जो हमारे बच्चों की एक्टिविटीज आ रही थी, उन बच्चों की वो एक्टिविटी हमने नए पेरेंट्स के साथ शेयर की। तो हम स्टार्टिंग में मार्च में जब मैंने नए पेरेंट्स का ग्रुप बनवाया था, उस समय जो थे लगभग 10 या 15 पेरेंट्स हमसे जुड़े थे। जब उन्होंने हमारे बच्चों के कार्य को देखा, उनकी एक्टिविटीज़ को देखा, तो उन्होंने अपने पास पड़ोस के पेरेंट्स से बात की, उन्हें हमारे स्कूल के बारे में बताया, और लगभग आज नए 47 to 50 पेरेंट्स दूसरे पेरेंट्स की मदद से हमारे साथ जुड़ चुके हैं। अब जब हमने व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप जोड़ा तो भी हमें बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस आए। हम व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप से ऐड करते और पेरेंट्स लेफ्ट हो जाते हैं। हम लोगों ने फ़ोन पर उनसे रीजन जाना, तो 2-3 बातें हमारे सामने आई। एक तो उन्हें डर था कि अगर हम अपने बच्चे को फ़ोन दे देंगे तो कुछ अनवांटेड चीज़ें वो ना देख लें फ़ोन पर। दूसरा, कहीं गेम ना खेलने बैठ जाएं। तीसरा उनका था कि उन्हें ऐसा जो मैसेज थे वो डिलीट करने नहीं आ रहे थे। कुछ पेरेंट्स का था कि हमारा मैसेज डिलीट नहीं हो रहे, हमारे तो फ़ोन हैंग हो गए, क्योंकि उनकी जो फ़ोनों की क्वालिटी थी वो भी अच्छी नहीं थी। कुछ पेरेंट्स को जो हम लोग कॉन्टैक्ट भेजते उसको डाउनलोड करना या लिंक को ओपन करना नहीं आ रहा था, तो ये सब चीज़ें हमने फ़ोन पर उनको सिखाई, कहीं स्क्रीनशॉट लेकर भेजे, कहीं उनसे फ़ोन पर बात की, उनकी इन सब समस्याओं का हमने समाधान किया। और आज सिचुएशन ये है कि यदि पेरेंट्स किसी वजह से लेफ्ट हो भी जाता तो अब हमें खुद फ़ोन करता है, पहले हमें फ़ोन करना पड़ता था कि आप लेफ्ट क्यों हो गए, और पेरेंट्स हमें कहते हैं कि गलती से लेफ्ट हो गए हैं, हमें ऐड कर लीजिए जल्दी से, कहीं हमारे बच्चे का आज का काम छूट ना जाए। शुरू में हमें जब आज सिचुएशन ये भी है कि हमारे बच्चे ऑनलाइन कंपटीशन में भाग ले रहे हैं, जैसे ब्रिक्स मैथ, हेलो इंग्लिश ऐप पर काम कर रहे हैं, गंगा क्विज कॉन्टेस्ट है, और इसी तरह के बहुत सारे क्विज है, जिस पर जब हम लोग उनके पेरेंट्स, क्योंकि पेरेंट्स सब खुद रजिस्ट्रेशन कर रहा है, हम पेरेंट्स को समझाते हैं और वो उसी के हिसाब से अपना पूरा एक्टिविटी बच्चे का रजिस्ट्रेशन करते हैं। जिन बच्चों के पास स्मार्टफोन नहीं थे, समस्या वहाँ थी कि उन बच्चों को हम कैसे पढ़ाएं। हम लोगों ने पेरेंट्स को फ़ोन किया, उनसे टाइमिंग वगैरह ली कि आपके बच्चे आप बता दीजिए आप फ़ोन किस समय आपका फ़ोन हमारे पास बच्चों के लिए उपलब्ध होगा। और उन्होंने उस चीज़ को जब हमें टाइम दिया तो टीचर्स ने उनका क्या किया कि टाइम टेबल बनाया अपने हिसाब से। फर्स्ट और सेकंड क्लास के बच्चों का हमने क्लास वाइज, थर्ड फोर्थ फिफ्थ के बच्चों का हमने सब्जेक्ट वाइज ग्रुप बना लिया। हमने एक टाइम टेबल टीचर ने अपना बनाया और उसके हिसाब से बच्चों टीचर उससे काम करवाने लगे हम लोग, यानी ऑनलाइन। यहाँ पे शुरू में दिक्कत आई हमें, बच्चे शुरू में हेजिटेट कर रहे थे। हम टीचर जब बात करता तो वो उसका जवाब नहीं दे पा रहे थे। उस समय टीचर को ज़्यादा बोलना पड़ा था और बच्चे रेस्पॉन्स कम कर रहे थे। लेकिन कुछ दिनों के बाद आज सिचुएशन ये है कि बच्चे बहुत अच्छा रेस्पॉन्स कर रहे हैं। जो बच्चा क्लास में साई यानी शर्मिला टाइप का था, आज वो बच्चा हमसे खुलकर बात कर रहा है। अब इससे भी ज़्यादा दिक्कत थी कि जो प्री प्राइमरी के बच्चे थे हमारे, उनके साथ कैसे काम किया जाए, उनको हमारे लाइन में कैसे जोड़ा जाए, उनको व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप कैसे बनाया जाए, उनकी लर्निंग कैसे हो। क्योंकि ना तो हमने उन्हें देखा था और ना उन 4 साल के बच्चों ने हमें देखा था, हमारे स्कूल को भी नहीं देखा था, वो परिचित नहीं थे। यहाँ तक कि उनके जो अभिभावक के पेरेंट्स हैं, उनसे भी हम 1 या 2 बार मिले थे। हमने पेरेंट्स से फ़ोन किया और उन्हें अपनी पूरी प्लानिंग बताई। और सबसे पहले हमने क्या किया कि उन पेरेंट्स से कहा कि आप अपने बच्चे के साथ उसकी मम्मी का वीडियो कॉल हमसे करवाओगे। और वीडियो कॉल पर हम लोगों ने स्टार्टिंग में बातचीत शुरू कर दी है। जैसे जैसे 1-2 सप्ताह निकलते गए, वीक निकलते गए, बच्चा हमसे थोड़ा थोड़ा परिचित होने लगा और वो हमारे काम का रेस्पॉन्स देने लगा। और आज सिचुएशन ये है कि प्री प्राइमरी का बच्चा भी अपनी वीडियोस हमारे पास भेजता है। छोटे छोटे कंपटीशन में कोई ड्राइंग बनाने के लिए भी जाए तो वो ड्राइंग भी बनाता है। इन सब के लिए हम लोगों ने अपने स्टार्टिंग हमने की थी कि कैसे हम लोग पता चले, एक सर्वे किया हम लोगों ने इन सब चीज़ों को जानने के लिए कि हमारे किस किस बच्चे के पास व्हाट्सएप हैं। तो एक फॉर्मेट हम लोगों ने तैयार किया था, उसमें हमने डाला था कि पूरा हम लोगों ने स्टार्टिंग में ले लिया था कि किसके पास बच्चे के पास व्हाट्सएप है, स्मार्टफोन है, क्या मम्मी के पास है या नहीं है, घर में कोई रिलेटिव है उसका फ़ोन वो यूज़ कर सकता है या नहीं कर सकता, या उस बच्चे घर में वो फ़ोन है वो उस बच्चे के पास कितने टाइम तक रह सकता है वगैरह है या नहीं है। तो ये सारी हमने पहले से ही प्लानिंग अपनी ले ली थी, सर्वे पहले हम लोगों ने किया था। तो इस तरह हमारे पास चैलेंज आए और हमने उनके सॉल्यूशन ढूंढे।
So many challenges, but I think there's a learning every day by trying for and outreaching. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. By the way, you're having a lot of good comment in our box, our Vividar chat. I would like to ask Sanjay. Sanjay, would you like to share a poll with our audience? Let's get our super active audience to get into this poll. Should online classes be conducted for children below class 3? Thank you so much for replying. We'll give 2 seconds. Interesting. Great. So I think we have a majority as a yes. Yes. Lovely, lovely. So a majority say yes, we should be having online classes for children. Yes, that we should have online classes to be conducted for children below the age of 3. Thank you so much for sharing this. We will discuss furthermore also on this. To continue our discussion, I'd like to now introduce our next speaker, Farida Lambe, co-founder and director of Pratham. Ma'am, I have to say, with an outreach to almost 11,000 villages in 21 states across India, and with over 6,000 teachers and lakhs of children, we can all imagine that you must be having enormous challenges right now. And that also considering that each state is battling with their own, the own pandemic, and each state also have different access for technology. We would love to hear from you, ma'am, and to know what has been your challenges that you have been facing, and what is your team and what you and your team have been doing to overcome this situation.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. I think I just want to continue from where Hemlata ji left,
Sure.
because Hemlata ji has been talking about real on the ground challenges, और वैसे ही challenges हमको भी आए हैं. You can be 6,000 or you can be 6. The challenges are the same. It's almost universal. Just before the even before the COVID-19 situation, Pratham has been working with in all these states along with the government, and also we've been working independently in communities and villages, both in urban and rural spaces. So we've had our own connections as far as the parents are concerned, children are concerned, governments are concerned. When COVID happened, and all of you will agree, it happened all of a sudden. None of us were prepared for this, and we always thought, at least I personally thought, that it will finish in 2-3 weeks or 1 month. We'll come back to normal. Never knew that we will be still till today is the 5th month, and we are still in a semi-lockdown situation. So having said that, what we had done, and we've been working on digital education for last say almost 2-3 years. What we had done is that we had started sending WhatsApp messages to children and to the families, calling it Corona Masti, Thodi Si Masti, Thodi Si Padhai. And we used to send them lots of puzzles, lots of questions, and we were getting feedback from almost these 11,000 villages where you were not directly working, but somehow these WhatsApp messages were becoming powerful. दूसरी चीज हमें ये महसूस हुई, जैसे हेमलता जी कह रहे थे कि some children, some families did not have a WhatsApp equipment. So we kind of moved on from WhatsApp to SMS. Or SMS को 161 characters, and what we did was, because through the SMS we could not send a video link, because on SMS we kind of lessons that we sent, we made a lesson by itself. So one SMS was equal to one lesson. और उसमें I can share it with all of you after this program कि काफी videos, काफी SMSs, messages, काफी content बना हुआ है, which is very relevant to what children were doing. And as Gauri was explaining about turmeric powder, we have done something on chapatis. We have done कि आपकी माँ अगर रोटी बना रही है तो आप गिनोगे कैसे, if there are 6 members in the family और 4 ही रोटी बनी है तो आप लोग कैसे डिवाइड करेंगे. तो हम लोग उनको फ्रैक्शंस पढ़ाने की और फ्रैक्शंस पे थोड़ा सा उनको नॉलेज देने की कोशिश कर रहे थे. So we've done all this. Challenges, as again all of us are saying, one is this constant continuous feeling of uncertainty. In some places अच्छा होता है, in some places doesn't happen. Suddenly there is a lockdown situation. There are communities, urban areas में जहाँ पे अच्छा चल रहा है, suddenly containment zone वो declare होता है, because वहाँ पे situation dynamic होती है. So it is very fluid. So I think we as NGOs, all of us who are on this show also, on this webinar, I think we've become very relevant, और हम needs देख रहे हैं बच्चों के, because we are also trying now to deal with uncertainty. And I feel what is certain is कि हम as Pratham, we've been able to, and as Hemlata and Gauri were also saying, that we've been able to connect with children. So the first thing we did was to connect with children. And once you connect with children, थोड़ी सी normalcy आती है. You know, my experience while I was working in Nirmal Niketan with a lot of disasters that I've worked with. I didn't make the disasters, but I was rehabilitating. So that time one saw that all these disasters में जब schools में बच्चों के साथ हमने काम किया, we started working with children. The community gets a routine. Parents feel very normal कि बच्चों के लिए कुछ हो रहा है. And that's exactly what has happened now in the COVID-19 situation, that we are now connecting with children. The other innovative way what we did was that, as many of you know, कि TV channels काफी चले हैं. There's a Diksha an app है. Maharashtra government has started something that almost all the channels are showing lessons. But as Gauri said, and as all of us know, कि बच्चे, and I'm talking specifically from the urban areas also, कि घर बहुत छोटे हैं. They're not even 10 by 10. Small rooms, small houses, TVs, there's a blast in the TV there, talking. Who is listening to the TV? How can children actually concentrate with the TV lessons? काफी थोड़ा सा impossible लगता है. पहले बच्चे को बहुत attraction होता था, but now children are also getting a little tired कि कितने lessons पे 6 घंटे 4 घंटे हम बैठेंगे. So that was one challenge. Second thing was this mobile, which everybody is talking about, कि हमारे जैसे घरों में 3 4 mobiles है. Each one of us has one mobile, so we are quite privileged. But in घरों में the father has the mobile, father has started working, and so the mobile घर के बाहर जाता है. Then how will the mobile be used by children? Now that was a second kind of a challenge. And therefore what we did, both in the rural areas and the urban areas. In rural areas में ये काफी exciting हुआ है, and that's what I want to share with you all, is we from TV channels we went into the radio. In Marathi there's something called Shala Baherchi Shala. It is called School Outside School. This was a program in adult education days in 89. Dr. Madhav Chavan, who's a co-founder here, had actually started it. So we kind of revived the concept with the government and said, let's call it school ke bahar school. Now what we've done is that there are lessons now, and the lessons are now being talked about it on the radio. And in the rural areas, for example, suppose I'm in the rural area and Gauri is my teacher. Teacher rings me up and says कि आप आज रेडियो पे ये लेसन आने वाला है, आपके बच्चों को ये लेसन प्लीज सुनाइए. So that is what Gauri does. Gauri also does, for example, where teachers are not available, or sometimes there is this whole containment zones are happening. What we did was, and I think my team was very creative in this, that we contacted the Sarpanch, as Hemlata was also saying. One is Sarpanch, one was the police patil, which is a policeman in the village. One is the revenue officer, who's always there. The other one is the ASHA worker, who's the ICDS, health worker, and 1 or 2 doctors. We kind of approached them and we said this radio program is going on. Can you get us volunteers? And I must tell you, places like Gadchiroli, Nandurbar, and I'm telling you, this is all experience. There is no exaggeration. We've now in Nagpur division, for example, we've got something like 10,000 volunteers. And these volunteers are now helping us with these lessons. Why I'm giving this example of this lessons on the radio, which I think almost everywhere we can start off, is in one village. I was talking to Caroline the other day, that in one village, the Sarpanch got so excited and all the other families did not have a radio. So he put a loudspeaker on the top of the temple. Okay. And he got the radio done and the entire village was listening to that loudspeaker. And I thought it was great, because all this time we are listening to different things, but suddenly now you have this loudspeaker telling people about bache, a lesson, say a lesson in 3rd standard. And I thought that is now being replicated at the government level. Similarly, in some places in madrasas in UP, or in some places even in Mumbai, the madrasas have taken it upon themselves, or the mosques have taken it upon themselves कि loudspeaker का इस्तेमाल करके, use करके, they're telling the children कि these lessons are being talked to you, or are for you. Or in the communities, because we're working in slum communities and villages, you will know in Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur, in the slum communities, there are lots of political parties, and political parties have their great news boards, which is always talking about isko vote do, or ye aisa hua. So we thought we will use this for education, and I'm telling you that this has worked. But the key to all this is, when we are talking about online, we are talking about sending messages to children, parents. There are two keys. One, कि parents involvement kitna hai, that is one. And secondly, who is there to handhold? You know, for example, in Mumbai, we the Municipal Corporation of Bombay has sent textbooks to almost all children. You know, there are about 3.5 to 4 lakh children, and textbooks have gone. Naye standard ke textbooks have gone. Online content has gone. So, and we are doing something called a phone survey. तो हम सभी पेरेंट्स को फोन करके पूछ रहे हैं कि आपको ये कंटेंट मिला है क्या. What we are getting response is that 80% of parents have got the phone, or got the text, have got the content, but parents are saying कि बच्चों को पढ़ाने के लिए या ये समझाने के लिए हमारे पास अभी कोई नहीं है. Because we both are working and sometimes we don't understand. That is one challenge. And second challenge, Caroline, is that when you're looking at this content, this is content which is being sent grade level. Standard 2, Standard 3, Standard 4. And as Pratham, we've always been saying, and this is very much to do with not schools like where Gauri is dealing with, but schools where child laborers are there, street children are there, where underprivileged children are there, who've had a tremendous amount of learning loss in the last five months. Even in normal circumstances, ASAR, which we bring out every year, we've said that 5th standard children do not have 2nd standard competency. So if we have to look at these 3 months as an opportunity, I'm not looking at COVID as a dangerous situation. I'm not looking at it as threat. It is threat. I'm not undermining that. But if we look at it as an opportunity and we say, let's prepare our children. Let's prepare our children for school readiness. Let's prepare our children for these competencies which they still have to come to a level, and let's prepare our children to be a little more creative, and let them be more out of the box. And I think channels like radio, which is reaching out to all the rural areas much more than even sometimes the WhatsApp phones, I think this is the way to go. Online education, Caroline had asked me this question. Online education or learning by remote is here to stay, and we are not at all against it. Yeah, my concern is that while doing this, let's not look at the top 10%, let's not look at the top 40%, but let's look at the bottom 3%, 5%, because even in Mumbai just now, I don't have the survey here to show you all, but in UP, Mumbai, everywhere, we are seeing that 30 to 40% of children do not have access to a smartphone. So if this is what is a kind of a paradox between what we are looking at, then, and if you have to look at every child, even as people who all of us who are committed to children, I think we need to look at how would we blend online with on the ground support, and this can only be done, one, by parents, which we are proving, and the other is by volunteers.
Lovely.
I can continue later, let others. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience on the ground, because like you said, we are learning, but the most important thing is connecting. So this is what I'm getting from all the panelists, is about connecting with the children. It's about, being creative in the way, engaging also to keep their focus. Now, I'd like to continue this next conversation with Vipul. Vipul, you have been working with educators, students, and personally as a mindfulness counselor. How important is it, and how relevant is it now more than before to bring learning and living based on principle of mindfulness? Please share with us.
Thank you, Caroline, and thank you to all the distinguished panelists. Very inspiring to hear Gauri ma'am, Farida ma'am, and Hemlata ji. Yes, I'm also picking, actually, Gauri, ma'am started us off with how the first lesson was around being mindful, or like establishing a sense of normalcy and calm. And I'm definitely seeing, working with parents and teachers, there's, like Farida ji said, there's a lot of uncertainty, they're always shifting, a lot of disruption. And with that is coming a sense of anxiety for a lot of parents, sense of irritability for children, being confined to smaller spaces, and the challenge of always being on the screen. Recently came across a survey that's talking about something called screen overload disorder that might be in the pipeline. We had already heard of nature deficit disorder. So while there's a lot of opportunity here, how we can stay centered and grounded is where I'm sensing a lot of need and demand from parents, because especially a lot of parents also are working from home, and children seeking their attention, seeking their time. Earlier, it used to be convenient in a way, 8 hours, you're in school 8 hours, I'm in the office, and then we have this separation. Now everything's sort of mixed. So there's a lot of disruption there. And with that, what I found is mindfulness can be really a supportive tool where parents first, like parents and educators also, like I've worked with a group of education officers in Maharashtra where we saw, like we did a 4-part series on stress management and mindfulness. And it was seen that as long as first thing is for teachers and parents to regulate their own emotions, to be grounded. And in that process, they can then offer it to their students. So we did workshops where we observed quiet time with teachers, a group of teachers in Coimbatore, for example. And then the teachers felt like something for them was so helpful that they can bring it to their, even their online classes, how we can start the classes with some mindfulness practice, some silence interspersed within the lessons. Also, here we are seeing mindfulness not just as a separate tool, but mindfulness even in listening spaces. Like while the lessons are happening, are we attentive to those clues, which is harder in a virtual platform? Like what's the socio-emotional world of that child like? And I'm seeing parents and teachers talk about how it's not just about the content. A lot of content is now, like it's accessible online, even in text. So what is it that will keep the students engaged and motivated to keep coming back? So that's where like the activities of listening, some silence, some engagement with all their senses, and not just the listening part or looking at the screen. That's really important, is what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And yes, you were saying that you taught, also state government, educator in the state government of Maharashtra. I think, it's important to bring support to our teacher, because I believe that they're also going through a lot of a lot of stress, right, Gauri? Would you like to talk about this a bit more? What is the what is the stress? What is the challenges that you're going through, right? And how you're overcoming this?
So firstly, what Hemlata ma'am is doing is remarkable. Farida ma'am, it's been so inspiring, and Vipul, of course. So taking the clue from there that every time a challenge came, later we kind of said, okay, we're ready for this also, because initial few weeks were really hard. I mean, there were times when we used to sleep just waiting to wake up. Okay, let's start the day, because we didn't know how to deal with things. And lots of other issues was, the work kind of expanded. I mean, even a small thing like an ordering food, some vegetable, and we would wash it like 20 times because, all the fears that were going around, and some were true and some were not true. And amidst all that in the environment, we still had to sit down at 9 o'clock, get on to online classes, be calm, and then teach. And so the one challenge that most of us were facing was that after a point, the children were getting restless. So I'll first talk about the children, and I'll talk about the teacher later. So they were getting a little restless, and I really like the idea of Farida ma'am, that she said that they use the radio, because that was one challenge we faced, was that children did not listen. And listening is not only related to education or delivering content, but it's a life skill. You see, you have to prepare the children to listen. So it is like, and when you have a school space, you're on the football ground, you listen to your coach, okay? So you learn to play in a team. And if you're listening to a science teacher, math. So listening is important. And when you grow up, you listen to your boss, your client, your family, and everybody. And that life skill will never develop through online teaching. So radio is definitely, I would say a better, maybe one option one could try. And when you're getting so many of these visual inputs, then somewhere that listening gets lost, I feel, because you're focusing only on the colors, and you're watching the YouTube movies, the content is getting, so you are not using your own creativity. So like we keep telling children, put your thinking caps on. So their own creativity, what they can contribute, that became a challenge. And I'll come to the other part, which is another thing, was about the writing skills. That was one challenge that we faced, was how does one develop writing skills in children? So writing is not only you give a question and you write the answer. It's an organizational skill. You have to present the work in a logical manner. And in our school, we also follow something called a diagnostic teaching, that some of us, like in the smaller classes, we don't use a red pen. We use a blue pen, and we never cross out. We never say that the spelling is wrong. So if the spelling is wrong, we just rewrite, we just write the correct spelling on top of it. Now, so this is how we have been taught. This is how we are supposed to teach, because the minute the child sees a cross it, they get disheartened like that. So writing skills was another thing that one couldn't work on. So how does one do? And even now, that's a challenge for us, that although we are sending work, we are not able to check. We have not got that thing in place, that at least in the primary class, that how do we check the work that they have done? They show it in front of the screen, and they're always so excited. They'll just open the books and they'll say, okay, this has been done, and we made a board you send us, and we put a finishing line after every answer, like that. But still, we are not satisfied, because that is not enough. And it's just like, I would say 5% of developing that writing skill. And now from the teacher's point of view, of course, the challenges was technology. And we were scared of technology, because our school doesn't have smart boards. We use a regular, the chalk and board system. And we do have a audio-visual room, but we take our children just once in a while. So suddenly this whole thing came, and so like Hemlata said, that mute, unmute. So these small things became challenge, and it was actually stressing us. So children were at times guiding. Ma'am, my father is saying that you can use this thing to unmute everybody. Or if somebody has done the annotation, they'll say, my mom is saying there is a clear sign, please use the clear sign. So we would keep saying that, yes, you all know so much more than we know, and thank you for helping us out. But it was playing that now we did not have control over the medium through which you were reaching out to the children. And then, yes, there were things like we had families, we have in-laws staying with us, and time was, like I said, the work just expanded. So it was not only coming online for 2.5 hours or 3 hours, it was also preparing the lesson. And then we were calling each other, okay, how does one do this? How does one do that? Attendance, okay, that was another challenge. You have to take attendance. So we were guided that, okay, even if the child is present, so if you have 2 sessions, if the child is present in 1 session, give the attendance. But how does one take attendance? Either I focus on looking at the participant, or I say, okay, so we started, so all those challenges kept coming, and the challenges were with the technology. But we learned, and over the months, we all started getting familiar. And then, suddenly this new thing came, okay, do away with Zoom and let's move on to another medium. But that was one of the major challenge about technology. And we felt a little unsettled and insecure that we were not actually we couldn't grip the whole situation, and family issues that we were taking in. The parents, I would say, were very supportive. I mean, like I said, they were always participative, and even though there would have been a few odd incidents, but they would be always telling you that great work done, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling. So that was that gave us a lot of positive vibes, and we just held on to from wherever we got these positive vibes, and we just took that as our this, I mean, I would say they were jewels for us, and we took them further from there.
Thanks, Gauri. We have had a technology strike. Caroline has had to drop off because she lost electricity at her place. So I will moderate the session from here. We have some very interesting questions from participants. So I think we can go through them and then, continue our discussion. So one of the questions is, what is the percentage of students who are being benefited truly with virtual learning in your concerned school or institution? So I will put a small background to this thing, and I would then request Farida madam to answer this question. I feel online schooling has been like new for everyone. So we have had online ticket booking, we have had online insurance, we have had online shopping later. But online schooling is something, for some reason, it never happened. And it is now happening at a very rapid pace. So the percentages will keep changing, but it's a great hope, that there is so much work happening. And Farida madam, over to you. What is your assessment of the impact that this is creating on the community?
I think the online is here to stay, as I said earlier, and impact is that children are learning, but again, one has to be a little mindful. People will like me using this word, but mindful in terms of saying that we have some high-end schools, okay, where online was anyway happening, right, and children are very used to it, and we have children whom we work with who are in the rural areas or working in urban slums who are with the say government schools. Now in that school, those kind of those children and those schools, online was difficult. And everywhere, all over India that we are looking at, I think almost 30 to 40% children don't have the access. Let's accept that. And from the 60% or 60% children who are left who have the access, have access to one kind of an equipment. They might have SMS, they might have WhatsApp. I don't think it is full guarantee that online is completely reaching every child. I will not say that, but a lot more needs to happen. But as Sanjay said, a lot is happening. And we are getting feedback from the parents, as Gauri very rightly said, that in this whole insanity and, depression, when schools, like Hemlata and Gauri and people from us who talk to the parents and say कि हम लोग आपके बच्चों के साथ हैं, आप कैसे हो? There's a whole iota of hope, and I feel our aim should be Again, I'm saying connection, celebration, that we are connecting to the children. Let's not worry about academic calendar, how much children
Yes.
are learning. Academic calendar is in our hand. It is okay, June 15 schools were opening. But let's say no, that we are not opening. We'll open in October. What happens? We will push everything by 6 months. The content that we are talking about, let's say that you don't have to worry about the entire content. The CBSE board has curtailed some of its content. So somehow we all need to be a little more flexible. And if we take that lens, then we will try to measure the impact. But if we take the lens, is it actually substituting school? I will say no. And we should not even talk about substituting it school. Never. Never substituting a teacher, because school, meeting children, peer group is a different part, and it has to be a part of life. I was a little long, Sanjay, but
No,
sorry.
that was very insightful. Thanks, Frida madam. I think very rightly said, it is not a substitution and it is a new thing. And the fact that parents are accepting it and parents are supporting it, children are liking it, I think those are great first steps. So I think that's great progress by a lot of people. There is another very interesting question, and I would like Hemlata madam to answer this. What is the daily schedule of timetable that you follow ideally? How many hours do you keep K2 students daily? Hemlata madam, please बताएं. हेमलता मैडम आप म्यूट पे हैं.
हाँ, अब आवाज आ रही है सर?
हाँ, अभी आ रही है.
हाँ, तो हमारे जो पेरेंट्स जब शुरू में हुआ तो उस समय लॉकडाउन थे, पेरेंट्स घर पर रहते थे, उस समय हमें दिक्कत नहीं आ रही थी. हम लोग हमारा एक टाइम टेबल हम लोगों ने बनाया और उस टाइम टेबल को हम लोग फॉलो करने लगे. जैसे उस समय हम लोग सुबह अपना भेज देते थे अपना जो वर्क है वो व्हाट्सएप पर, या हमारे जो ग्रुप हैं वो हम लोग फोन कॉल पर है, उनका टाइम टेबल हम लोगों ने किया था.
तो मैडम सवाल ये है कि आप जो टाइम टेबल बनाया आपने, वो आधे घंटे के स्लॉट्स बनाए, दिन में कितने बनाए, मंडे ट्यूसडे वेडनेसडे कैसे बनाए, तो इसके बारे में बताएं आप.
व्हाट्सएप पर तो हम लोग सभी बच्चों को एक साथ काम दे रहे थे. उसमें टीचर्स के बनाए हुए वीडियोस थे, दीक्षा से हम लोगों ने ग्रुप बनाए, कुछ हम लोगों ने लिंक थे, यूट्यूब से थे, टीचर्स ने अपने ऑडियो वगैरह बनाए. तो जो व्हाट्सएप पर थे वो हमारे सुबह के सारे कार्यक्रम थे, लेकिन जो फोन कॉल पर थे उनके लिए हमने टाइम के हिसाब से हाफ आवर के ग्रुप बनाए. यानी हर आधे घंटे के लिए हमने बच्चों को, या तो वो बच्चा इंडिविजुअल होता था या ग्रुप में होता था, उनके लिए हम लोगों ने टाइम टेबल अपने उसी हिसाब से हाफ एन आवर के लिए बनाए थे. लेकिन जैसे अभी अनलॉक हो गया है हमारे जो, क्योंकि हमारे पास फोन लगभग हर परिवार में एक ही है और वो भी उसके फादर के पास रहता है, तो उन्होंने जो फोन है वो अपना लेकर चले जाते हैं. तो सुबह हम लोग अपना सुबह अब हम लोगों ने अपना टाइम टेबल है वो फ्लेक्सिबल कर दिया है. क्योंकि अब एक ही टाइम टेबल से, फिक्स टाइम टेबल से हम लोग काम नहीं कर सकते हैं. तो जिन बच्चों के पेरेंट्स सुबह अर्ली मॉर्निंग में काम पर निकलते हैं या रात को देर से आते हैं, हम उन बच्चों को हाफ एन आवर सुबह जल्दी देते हैं और हाफ एन आवर उनके टाइम के हिसाब से दे रहे हैं. तो हम लोगों ने अभी अपना जो टाइम टेबल है वो फ्लेक्सिबल बना दिया है.
थैंक यू मैडम, दैट वाज वेरी इंसाइटफुल. तो मैंने जो मैडम से बात करी थी, जो मेरे को समझा था, they are doing 3 sessions every day on phone with children. Each of those 3 sessions are for half an hour and for a group of 4 to 5 children. So these are with parents and children who do not have a smartphone, who only have a feature phone. So each teacher runs 3 sessions with the primary school children, and each of these sessions are for half an hour. And Monday is for Hindi, Tuesday is for EVS, and Wednesday is for math. So like that, they have created a schedule. So they supplement the work that they have given to parents to help the children with instructions during these half-an-hour calls with the parents. So I hope that answers the question which was put up here.
जी
There is a question for you: how to work on socio-economic aspects in case of remote learning, especially for primary school students?
Yeah, I was just typing answer to that. So great. Thank you for asking. So what Farida ji said is we can't look at online learning as a substitute for schooling. And I would go a step further and say, actually, this is a time when we can really expand the idea of schooling, this disruption. How can every home, every community, every family be looked at as a learning environment? It already was, but how do we capture that learning? So we have to almost like get to the fundamentals of what learning is, and like how, context, how context can be the content, how life itself or every moment is a learning moment. So this has in a way put ownership back, the learning ownership back to parents, back to students, and of course teachers. So it's more than ever before, it's like become a very co-creative activity, learning, and how we can capture that. So what kind of activities, what kind of reflections, what kind of intentional practices that we can bring in every family context. I can only offer a few examples. For example, in our mindfulness workshops, we run a full workshop on listening, building listening skills, and bringing mindfulness to one-on-one listening or group listening spaces. So parents have then brought it to their children, where earlier parents would just, they would be impatient in like the kids, little kids are like always talking, always asking questions. Parents are either on phone, working or busy. So now here, how can we pause? How can we actually give that undivided attention to children and then allow them to also listen? So almost like building that muscle, the listening muscle. How we can bring mindfulness in every day-to-day chore, like, cutting vegetables or washing vessels or some art activity. So it's almost like, it's already happening a lot of like in rural areas where I've been also consulting some friends in tribal villages where, they're doing the farming activity. So there's a lot of rich learning happening. It's like almost, I think this is the transition period where how we can almost create a more decentralized, context-based, and culturally responsive curriculum where every educator and every like community worker or volunteer can start to build learning experiences around what already is happening and how they can really imbibe the values of empathy, collaboration, silence, forgiveness, all of these in the context of what's already around. So yeah, Farida ji is raising her finger.
Just wanted to add to what Vipul said. Because we talked about listening, but there are actual cases now in the communities where we are working where there are actual socio-economic problems. The domestic violence has increased. In some places, there's a hunch that the girls may not go to school. They will tell them not to go to school because some of the private schools are asking for a lot of fees. There is also this tendency that if boys drop out after 8th standard, they might get into child labor. So, and these are all situations which are coming up now in the community, and the parents are also a little, not, I won't say depressed, but a little anxious about their husbands have lost job, or a woman who was a domestic help in the neighborhood community, the neighborhood society is not allowing her to come in. So there are these very economic now struggles going on, and my feeling is that all of us as organizations will not be able to help everybody, but I think we need to have some kind of a system, some kind of a mechanism in place where we should connect some of these people to the social protection schemes. There are several social protection schemes which are at the government level everywhere, which we should connect so that with education, this part is also looked after. So indirectly, it helps children to go to school, whether it is sponsorship, whether it is girls' education. And I also feel that sometimes there are some high-end schools, and we've done this before, or there are some good private schools who want to adopt, say, some children in the government school. They want to adopt some differently abled children. And when I'm saying adopting, it is mainly to give books or just mentorship or just helping them, giving them a direction that, what needs to be done. So I think, as Vipul very rightly pointed out, that this is the time that we all are like, kind of, there's a bond now, and it's a real community feeling. So we either make it or mar it. I think we should be able to make it.
Thank you, Farida Madam. So nicely put. We can really make this a great community, working together, empathy and listening and understanding each other, and come out really very strong out of this opportunity that this crisis has presented to us. So since we are about 10 minutes away from closing the session, so we will possibly take a poll. And I would like you to, give us your closing remarks, 2 or 3 statements, which our audience, as a summary to the audience. So here is our next poll for the audience. So great, I mean, it looks like it is 50-50 between smartphone and laptop. And that's an interesting and very little of basic feature phones. And I guess, that's because we are in cities and we don't see the problems on rural and low income side. Prerna, can we put one more poll? I mean, it is interesting to see some of these reactions from the audience. Very fascinating. So it ties in very closely with what Gauri said, what Hemlata Madam said, and what Farida Madam said, that somehow connect with the children, give them project work, get them connected to their surroundings. So it seems that most of the learning should happen through project work. That's what the audience feels. That's fantastic. Prerna, it's very enticing to see the opinion. So can we have another poll, please? Amazing. So keeping students engaged, how does one keep the connection with the students and keep them engaged? That's the number one challenge that a teacher faces. These are awesome, awesome insights from the audience. And Prerna, the last one, I think, after this. So teachers seem to be doing a great job, in having the children at school and being able to manage them. And I think that is true, I mean, parents can do so much because children are taken care of. So I think thanks audience for this lovely insights. So I will return to our panelists and, 1 minute. Okay, so we have one more, we have one more poll here. after the COVID crisis, blended learning should be continued.
Can't see the poll.
Really, is it? On your phone, Farida madam, by any chance?
No, I'm on the laptop. I could see everything. Only last one I can't see.
Okay, the last one is after the COVID crisis, blended learning should be continued, and I can see it on my.
I can see it now. Yeah.
Okay. So I think there is a mixed opinion here. People feel that it should be continued. Some people feel that it should be continued only for higher classes. And I think that's a fair point that, I'll teach the children how to swim and then, leave them. And on the other hand, maybe it's a good tool which can help the young children also. And I think the mixed opinion from the audience shows that divide. So I will return to the panelist. So Gauri, starting with you, since you started the discussion, closing remarks, 4 or 5 sentences since we are already close to.
Okay. So like Farida ma'am said that online classes, even I believe, can never replace the experience of what we can give to the children when they are inside the school. And when the teacher can transfer so much of positive vibrations, and which is most important, through this virtual medium, that is not possible. And during this lockdown period, like they say that emotional scars, take longest to heal. So let us connect to the children as far as possible. We should forget the content. Doesn't matter if in one class they have not done. And the teachers also have to think simple. And I hope I won't take time, but like, for example, for maths, one of our teachers came up with the most creative way to teach 3D shapes. She just told the children, aata lekar aao. And through the atta, she made one yellow dough, one green dough, and red dough. And that's how the 3D shapes were taught. And one more thing, which I also learned from one of the webinars that I attended was, find yourself a lockdown buddy. You must have somebody you can talk to. So find yourself a lockdown buddy.
Thanks, Gauri. Hemlata madam.
मैं यही कहना चाहूँगी कि ये हमारे पास एक ऐसा चुनौतीपूर्ण टाइम है जिसमें पेरेंट्स के साथ हमने कनेक्टिविटी तो बढ़ाई है, साथ साथ हमें कनेक्टिविटी और ज़्यादा भी बढ़ानी है, मजबूत करनी है, क्योंकि आने वाला जो समय है उसमें भी ब्लेंडेड टीचिंग, अगर स्कूल ओपन भी हो जाते हैं तो ब्लेंडेड टीचिंग चलेगा, यानी 50% बच्चे अगर स्कूल में हैं तो 50% बच्चे हमारे ऑनलाइन चलेंगे। तो इस समय पेरेंट्स के साथ कनेक्टिविटी बढ़ाना सबसे ज़्यादा जरूरी है, उनके मजबूत करना, क्योंकि पेरेंट्स और जो टीचर हैं वो साइकिल के 2 पहिए के समान हैं। दोनों में अगर साइकिल के दोनों पहियों में हवा बराबर है तो ही वो सही चलेगा, यानी अभिभावक और जो टीचर है उनके बीच का जो सामंजस्य है वो मजबूत होना चाहिए। तो मैं यही कहूँगी कि हमारे जो बच्चे हैं उनके लिए जो टीचिंग मेथड्स हैं वो भी हमें देखना पड़ेंगे कि अलग अलग तरह के बच्चे हों, क्योंकि हर बच्चे का सीखने का जो तरीका है वो अलग अलग है। कोई बच्चा चलचित्र के द्वारा सीखता है तो कोई सामने खड़ा देखकर उसके माध्यम से, कोई बोल रहा है उसके माध्यम से सीखता है, और कोई बच्चा खुद करके देखता है। तो हमारे जो कैरिकुलम है, हमारी जो प्लानिंग होनी चाहिए वो ये होनी चाहिए कि इन बच्चों, हर बच्चे तरह के बच्चे के लिए उसमें मौजूद हों। ये नहीं हो कि हम लोग एक ही तरह की चीजें उनको प्रोवाइड करें। हर बच्चे के मुताबिक हमारे जो कैरिकुलम है या हमारे जो लेसन प्लान है उसमें हर तरह के बच्चे के लिए उसमें एक्टिविटीज होनी चाहिए।
बहुत अच्छी बात कही हेमलता मैडम। पेरेंट्स के साथ कनेक्शन बहुत अच्छा बनाया है और इसको और अच्छा बनाना है जिससे कि गाड़ी एकदम स्मूथली चले, और दूसरा सब बच्चों को इन्वॉल्व हम कैसे आगे लेके जाएं। बहुत खूब, बहुत ही अच्छी बात। थैंक यू हेमलता मैडम। फरीदा मैडम।
थैंक यू सर।
I just want to say that our aim should be to reach every child and every child to learn well. I'm an optimist by my personality, so I'm always looking at not a glass empty. I'm looking at the glass half full, and I would like this to be looked upon as an opportunity, and also a realization that schools or teachers is not the only fountain of knowledge, but there are many other fountains of knowledge. And I think the time has come where the children can reach out to many sources of knowledge. And this whole realization that we are not alone, but that there is a community and that there are parents and all of us who are sailing in the same boat right now. Yeah. So we shouldn't feel scared, but a kind of a commitment to our children, because in future, tomorrow our children should be able to say that these adults, these teachers like Gauri and Hemlata have really made our life. And I think that is what we owe to our children. Thank you very much. And it was an extremely inspiring session. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Farida madam. Very insightful. Be optimistic and keep looking forward and be together. Very insightful. Vipul?
Yeah, I'll actually piggyback on what Gauri ma'am and Farida ma'am said. One around, like, forget the content in a way, like content comes later. First are those connections, strong relationships that we nurture and build with children, and them getting a sense of belonging and understanding from the adult community. And secondly, how school is everywhere. Your life, everything you do is learning opportunity. It's enriching, like cooking, helping out parents in the household, supporting a neighbor. There's so much, that's the learning that's needed in 21st century. Like content is rich and out there. So we need to really push the idea of education beyond just, earning degrees and prepare, like getting certifications, and really bring in the element of social emotional learning and service learning in the picture. So this is
Thanks.
an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, very rightly said by you and Farida madam. Look at it as an opportunity, be optimistic, and definitely, create a new world of learning where the social, the emotional skills are given as equal importance as the logical skills, which we acquire through tools. It was an inspiring session listening to all of you, and the amount of hard work that has been put in the last 3 months by teachers silently is unbelievable, and it's really awesome. I am new to the sector. I came into this education sector only 4 years ago, and one of the big realizations was that teachers put in a lot of hard work to make the classes happen, which normally doesn't get seen outside the system. And in this COVID time, the work that has been put in, and in a systematic way, because it could not have happened without systems that hundreds of children can be catered to day in, day out manner on a regular basis is amazing. It is hard work done in a systematic way, and I'm sure it will take us very far. Since I am very inspired, I will read from a poem before I close the session. राह पे कांटे बिखरे अगर उस पे तो फिर भी चलना ही है, ये हौसले कैसे झुके, ये आरजू कैसे रुके. So I think we will not be stopped, and we will keep going, and I'm sure we will see a very different and a very good education system that we all want. So thanks a lot to all the panelists, and thanks a lot to all the participants, for staying. We had almost 350 participants here today. That's a large number from across India, and most of them stayed on. So thanks everyone for making this an awesome session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
You did a lot of work even before this.
Caroline, please.
Thank you.
closing words. I didn't realize
Before this, so it was also helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all the insightful discussion we had. It's just really amazing. And also thank you to Sanjay for putting this together from ThinkLink, and also to Teach for India and Bharti Foundation for coming together for this session. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you to all of you.
Thank
you,
all
I
of
wish
you.
to stay connected to each one of you. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.